Yo, what's up, guys? This is Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Casting. I'm one of the HGS commentators and content creators, and today we're going to be bringing you guys some pro Halo tips, and this video is going to actually be featuring X clips. Let's check it out.
Are you trying to get better at Halo Infinite's multiplayer?
Yes, I am.
Well, here are 3 tips where you can instantly improve in your gameplay. First up, be patient and let your shields regen. One common mistake players make in Halo Infinite is they rush right into the next battle after winning the last one. If you've taken some damage while moving across the map or just won a 1v1, take the time to let your shields regen before moving to the objective or into the next battle.
Actually, it's a really good tip for a lot of players across gold, platinum, onyx, or above. Lots of times we don't value staying alive, but I do want to add some tweaks to that. Instead of completely waiting for your shields to be recharged, I'm gonna say a little bit differently. Limit the angles that you take on the opposition so that they can see very minimal of you while you gather information. And being as effective as possible on the map while also staying alive. For example, if you see a player over towards your cafe side and an opponent on the opposition over towards the back A, you can use this time while you're one shot to gather information on what's happening around the map. For example, you can peek out over toward the ATM window and see if anybody's over towards tires that's trying to get across on your teammate. Obviously, it's a high traffic area, so it's good to keep your eyes on that. And in that same breath, if your teammate's in a 1v1 and he's calling out, you can literally see or audibly hear what's happening in that 1v1. This player's focused on your teammate. This is actually a really good opportunity, even if you're half shields or lower, to poke out and sneak a shot or two in there. This could lead to either you getting the finishing kill or getting a shot or two on the opposition to make sure that your teammate stays alive and finishes their kill, and then from there you guys can work in tandem together, baiting and switching, gathering more information, and pushing up on the opposition. If you were to stay alive and you're, say for example, your teammate dies in this 1v1, you might be able to come in and finish off that kill, but now you're by yourself, and just as easily another player can get involved and get the cleanup on you. Just by you, again, limiting your field of view, just sneaking in to get a shot when you know that your opponent is focused on another area can be the difference of this being a successful push over towards the weak side of the map, or maybe you guys trading out one for one. So for example, gathering information, just getting info, and then like I said, if your teammates over towards cafe and they're on the back A side, just poke out, just sneak in a shot or two, or just take their attention off of your teammate can be so helpful even if you're weak.
Second tip is to reduce your over-reliance on grenades. Throwing grenades delays your ability to fire a weapon for a whole second. That's enough for you to win a 1v1, plus you're in risk of damaging your other teammates. And if you kill your ally, you don't appear on the kill feed. The enemy who dealt the last damage to that teammate appears instead. Our final
Actually, that's a really good tip for a lot of players that are probably sitting maybe diamond and below. Like, if you're in the middle of a gunfight, I know it's really easy to want to throw a grenade in the middle of that gunfight, especially when you're in open field. Grenades are so powerful in the game. However, it's usually better to just keep your feet planted and make sure you hit your shots. Even if you miss a shot or two within that gunfight, you might be able to make a correction, play some cover, or play it properly. The moment you throw a grenade, like you said, it takes a lot of time to force that action. And then from there, you might be definitely giving up that gunfight and maybe even hurting your teammates that are trying to get involved as well. Now, that's not to say that grenades aren't important and don't have their place. In fact, I would argue and say grenades are the most important utility that you have in your belt. I'm going to show you some proper ways to use your grenade. One great thing you do is nade high traffic areas to try to get some information on your opponents, or on top of that, try to get some early damage. This includes throwing grenades over towards, for example, rockets or an overshield or camouflage that are coming up. That early damage can be the difference between push that player to maybe burn that overshield, or maybe even steal the kill before they're able to pop it, and now you can steal it for yourself. On top of that, there's a very loud audible whenever a player is actually hit by a nade, so much so that it's almost as useful as a hit marker is over towards social. So I would really turn up your Astros or whatever headset you guys are using and make sure you listen for that. When that nade is thrown and you hear that grunt, you know either your teammate or the enemy was there, and you need to be able to act accordingly. We call that a prediction grenade. One thing that I think players, for example, such as Frosty, are so good at is throwing prediction grenades over towards the weak side of an area before he pushes a stronger side of response to a call out. Say, for example, Phaser going up against Space Station Gaming, and World 2 happens to be over toward the Red Room and has information as a player over to Commando. He's putting down shots and making him weak, but he just keeps playing that cover and not dying. He's going to alert Frosty as a player over towards Commando, and Frosty wants to get there as fast as possible. He's coming up over toward the PD side, and he doesn't want to completely ignore B Street, so lots of times he might make a jump over here, try to see if anybody's angled over towards the stairs, and maybe even throw a quick grenade over towards here, just to kind of zone this area out, and in case he hears an audible grunt, he can react to that weaker player. If he does, he can keep pushing forward as they look to ultimately infiltrate the subway side. Something like another thing is I want to see you guys do with grenades is forcing action on your opposition. Say, for example, you're currently player 8 and you're dealing with player 1 that's over toward the PD side. You cracked his shield, you made him weak, and now you want to force the action. Well, what you can do is you can go head on and maybe run into a couple grenades because your play is really predictable. Or what you can do is chuck a grenade right over towards one entrance and then immediately pinch another, almost creating a two-way pinch, almost like you have a player pushing one side, the caution side, and you push the mid side, and you double teaming and right angling that player over towards PD. Instead, you're allowing that nade to kind of take the place of you having a player because you're by yourself and forcing the action over here. It's a great distraction. Number one, as soon as that nade goes off, that player's probably going to change their attention and look there while you get some easy shots off to finish them off. Or if they happen to be too close, that nade's going to hit them and either finish them off or make them one shot. So no matter what, your push is still going to be well. This is called forcing the action. You can do that in multiple ways, like or say, for example, there's a player that's using this pole to nade the right side and push left. Happens a lot more than you would think.
Tip is be aware of your map movements. The middle of the map is the most dangerous place to be in ranked, so always be aware of how many allies are currently down and know the positions of the ones that are alive. Teaming up with another ally drastically increases your chances of taking down the enemy.
Yes, yes, and 1,000 times yes. Map positioning and being aware of how many of your teammates are up versus how many of the enemy are down are some of the biggest Halo 101s that people know, but oftentimes forget whenever they jump into rank, and could be the reason why you're not ranking up. I'm gonna tweak this just a little bit, especially for my high diamond and onyx level players for you guys, but either way, I think that the core fundamental is so right. Let's talk about the position, the fact that you talked about that middle map positioning. Take some words from Coach Callis. You control the outside and work your way in. You control perimeter before you have a middle player on the map. For example, if player 6 is already on our perimeter over toward the cafe side, and you know there's no damage being put down, he already has this locked down, is gathering information, and doesn't see anybody over toward the A or top tower side of the map or the back side, you can make the educated guess that side is covered, and now instead of being redundant and playing right on top of them in this scenario, now what you can do is instead come off a spawn and play ATM, and then maybe play a mid angle to still support as you two collapse together and ultimately force the enemy and clearing out the A into PD side, and as you start to move in. When I was doing film review with Swish, we call filling in the gaps, having a player over towards cafe, taking a different angle yet still complementary to your teammate, and now pushing in and taking up more space on the map. We'll give another scenario where, say for example, player 5 is already pushing over towards P Street but doesn't have the information that there is a player over toward the back A side. I think in this case you can still have player 7 go over towards ATM and take space together. However, you guys don't have information yet. And I think a lot of times when gathering information, it's better for you guys to play in twos. So this way, this one player doesn't get surprised by two people over towards A side, overwhelmed immediately. If something like this happened and you two were to push together, you'll have a better chance ultimately fighting both of these players off, even though they may have the advantage or the advantage of surprise. So when gathering information, again, we're talking about knowing where your teammates are on the map, position yourself around them. This might be a good time for you to push and double push with those so you can bait and switch. And as you gather information, you can ultimately clear areas faster. And say these players aren't on A side, you play through A much faster. You get over towards the mid map. You're able to fight. You're able to go so fast that you find the players that are kind of out of position over towards PD, and you take over immediately before your opposition are able to react. That's what you're talking about. Again, just not playing over toward the middle map all willy-nilly. Understanding where your teammates are and how you can play around them and complement them is a huge part of Halo Infinite. I think that's a great piece of feedback, X. Either way, I think X did an amazing job being able to level up your gameplay. The next time you go into ranked, hopefully you guys are thinking of some of the words that he said, and maybe thinking just a bit about the little bit that I added on top of that, and hopefully this helps you guys out on your next ranked session. All right, guys, peace out.